Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, we're going to be talking about why women fake orgasms, who fakes, who gets faked with, etc. And before we do that, I must tell you to subscribe. The most recent subscriber episode was on hand jobs. The answer to, I don't like blowjobs and I don't want to have sex. So you should definitely listen to that. I'm doing a lot more subscriber episodes now that the price is higher so that you get what you are paying for. And before that, what else did I have? The one right before that was when you are smarter than your spouse. So we got two good ones just in the most recent two. Okay, so how many women have probably, this is not scientific, this is from 14 years in practice, and I think there were statistics that said something like the majority of women have faked an orgasm, but I would say almost every woman that's been in a sexual relationship has faked an orgasm at one time or another. Sometimes it's not the first orgasm, so that's like a way that some women do it, is they're just, they have a real orgasm, so they say, all right, good, good. But he wants me to apparently have more of them. I'm not feeling it, but he's a great guy. So might as well make him think that this is just, amazing, and, have a few more for the fuck of it, right? And so, if we're going by that definition of women who have faked even extra orgasms, and I would say 100% of women have done that in their lifetime. Unless we're talking about situations that are very extreme, where like a woman has literally never had an orgasm. And when a woman has never had an orgasm, frequently she doesn't really even know how to fake and doesn't want to fake and is really not that into sex. But in the situation where it's a woman who enjoys sex, enjoys being in love, enjoys men, enjoys relationships, sometimes you just fake an orgasm. Now, very insecure men on the internet say things like, well, this just shows all women are lying bitches, and, that whole rhetoric that's really makes you always know why they've had trouble with women from the very first comment. But it is not that women are liars. Men lie constantly. Your wife wants to watch some fucking TV show, reality TV. I told you to watch reality TV with her. Good man, you're doing it. She says, oh, don't you love it? You say, oh, yes, sure. This was great. This was one, I really liked it, or like she cooks something and it's terrible and you say it's good. Or she comes down in some lingerie that she's really trying to, impress you with, and it looks like something that, her own mother you could picture wearing, currently as an elderly person. But you say, yes, sure, you look hot. Wow. People do this. It's not like, how about your kid comes to you with like a picture? You're like, wow, that's really great. And you're like, elephant. You're like, that's exactly what I was going to say. It looks like shit, right? It looks like nothing does not look like an elephant. And you say, yes, that is the best elephant that I've ever seen. Okay. So yes, of course, I even have an article, Stop Feeding Your Child Fake Praise. So if all the time they do scribble scrabble and you say that they're, Van Gogh, then you're setting them up to be a huge narcissist. But sometimes if it's like your Father's Day present and they've worked hard on it and it just, they just really does not look like an elephant at all, then you will say great elephant. And that just means that you're a good guy, right? Means that you're not an asshole. And so your wife, sometimes you're trying very hard in bed. She's nowhere near close to anything, but you are trying valiantly. She's really not in the mood. She's about to get her period in a couple of days. She is thinking about the groceries. She's thinking about, and by the way, you could be like a masterful lover and you could go to the gym 8 days a week and she'll still be thinking about the groceries when she's not at her right time in the cycle to enjoy herself. That just is what it is. Like, it's extraordinarily narcissistic and delusional for a man to think that there is some level of good lover that he could be within a marriage that would mean that a woman never took her mind off of him. This is like the guys that think that she shouldn't think about somebody else. If she didn't think about somebody else, believe me, she'd have to fake a lot more. Because it's just normal for a woman to have a fantasy going on because, as I've told you evolutionarily, every time she ovulates, she's supposed to think about she's supposed to sleep with a different guy. So in lieu of that, some women think about a whole different scenario. It may involve you, it may not. Sometimes it doesn't even involve your gender, it could be anything. So the point is, people are allowed to have their thoughts. People are allowed to have private brains. And sometimes, it just doesn't go along with what the couple is experiencing for those private thoughts to be made public. So how about this one? It's your birthday, let's say, and she is definitely not going to orgasm because she is a day away from her period. She's in the dearth, the low valley, the nadir rather of her cycle. And also you just got called from the school that your kid's acting like a sociopath in some way or another, and so she's thinking about that, is little Johnny going to grow up to be a serial killer? But it's your birthday and she's really trying to give you a very good time, and she's put on the lingerie you asked her to put on, and she gave you a blowjob too and everything. Now it's up for the sex part. Do you think that she shouldn't fake? I mean, I think she should fake, and I'm somebody who thinks that she usually shouldn't fake, and I'll get to that too. But I think in that situation, it would be extremely pro-social if she knows she's not going to. But you know what? It's within the context of a love life where you do know how to give her an orgasm and you're a good guy. And what about this one? What if you were on death row and you got to have one more fuck? Then should she fake? She's worried about you dying. She loves you. She's not going to have an orgasm unless she just gets off on death. So should she fake if you're on death row? Many more people will say yes with all of these examples. So, that's how she thinks about it. She's a nice person. She doesn't want to show you up. She doesn't want you to feel like a bad lover. She doesn't want you to sulk, and I'll get to that in a second. So she tries to take one for the team and do a lot of moaning and moving around. Is she faking per se? Oh, we don't know. But, she is kind of leaving it open to interpretation if you so desire. Many women, if you then ask them, did you come? They'll be like, well, no, honey, but, I wasn't really going to be in the mood to do that. That wasn't really going to be possible. But they will have, but if you don't ask, then you could think that they did. Because like some men who think that they're smart, this is my favorite, they're like, but there's contractions. Well, you think a woman doesn't know how to move her own vagina? It's like, it's like wiggling your ears. But except everybody can do it, and everybody can't wiggle their ears. So if a woman wants to make you think that she came, and or if she wants to hasten your own orgasm, she could certainly contract her own vagina. I mean, it's part of her body. So that should settle that debate. But okay, so which kind of men get faked with or on more than others? The ones that are sulky and difficult and oversensitive. Because if when she tells you that she doesn't necessarily like the way that you mowed the lawn, you got a problem about it and the problem lasts for eternity, then how's she going to tell you that you don't know how to make her come? I mean, shit, that's going to make, she's going to be dealing with the ramifications of that shit show for the rest of her life, So if you want to be, and I have a whole podcast on this, if you want to be the guy that gets genuine performance feedback from your wife, just type in feedback to get to this one, then you got to be open-minded, willingness to accept feedback, coachable in all aspects, not just in bed, right? If you are perceived as somebody difficult or argumentative, I mean, there are some guys who actually try to out-argue that they are good lovers to their own wife who is saying that they're not. So like, they literally will say, well, no, that is supposed to get you off. Literally. Like they'll say that to the woman. I have read about this, and that is what foreplay is supposed to be like, and that is what's supposed to get you off, of the woman saying it doesn't. So if you are a guy who's extremely rigid, if you're one of these guys that gets on my page and trolls on, internet trolling, and only believes that, they are always right and they are somewhere above God in their love, in their ability to assess and intuit, all situations and always have unfailingly good judgment. And if a woman says that you don't, then you basically have a panic attack about it, then you're always going to get women faking orgasms, always, because they don't want to deal with you. You're getting women with low self-esteem to begin with because that's the only women that will put up with you. And within that, they certainly don't even want to make you mad, at all. They have low self-esteem. They don't want you to get mad at them and tell them that they're wrong somehow or that they caused it or something. So they just fake and everybody's happy from their perspective. Except they're not really happy because they're still partnered with an asshole. But, you're happy, at least as happy as you get because you are the asshole. So either way. But who else gets, what kind of women now, jumping from that, fake? People pleasers, fake much more than average. Young women fake more than average because they don't really know what the hell they're supposed to be experiencing anyway quite yet, so whatever. Young women of this current generation seem to fake out of my clients more. Why? Because they've been exposed to porn. So they know what a fake looks like. So women in my generation, and again, I'm 42, don't really look at porn that much. Maybe as an adult, but certainly not when you were like 16 years old. Like I had dial-up internet, and I was a girl. Like it just wasn't a thing. But most men, obviously, that are 42 have, consumed an incredible amount of internet pornography, but not so much the women. But the women in their 20s now, they have, and their boyfriends have wanted them to, and they've been interested on their own because they have a high sex drive. They're in their 20s. So a lot of women will look at it and then they're like, ooh, I guess that's what I'm supposed to act like. So some of them are faking without even knowing that they're faking because they just think that when a woman is having sex, she's supposed to act like she's being impaled, by the Vikings. And so she just tries to do that because you want to be on trend. You want to do what you're supposed to do. So anyway, who else? Well, as I said, it's women who are people pleasers, women who are partnered with sulky or difficult men. It's also women that don't have a sex drive anymore because of menopause or because of antidepressants or because they are nursing or because of, myriad medications they could be on besides antidepressants or because they were depressed. That one gets you coming and going. If you're depressed, you can't. And then if you're on antidepressants, you can't. But anyway, if they just can't have an orgasm anymore, then they don't want the guy to just be completely demoralized. And so then they fake. And remember, there's different ways to fake. One is like a sin of omission, right? You just don't mention that you didn't come, but your body language indicates you might have, so that, it's kind of choose your own adventure. The guy could go down the rabbit hole of actually asking you, or if he's having a pretty good day overall, he could just decide to just let that lie, no pun intended, and not really ask, and, no harm, no foul. Don't ask, don't tell. But, and then there's literally women that are like, oh, baby, that was the best, and convey by that they did specifically, definitely have an orgasm. And again, there's really no distinction except the level of people pleasing or the level of how difficult you are or the level at which they were never going to have an orgasm in that encounter for whatever reasons, possibly due to you not being a good lover and possibly due to them not having a libido or both. Both would be the worst. Now, if you're a woman listening to this, should you fake orgasms then? I'm saying it's totally normal, totally natural. Well, no, of course not. Lying, people do constantly. It's completely normative to lie, but you shouldn't, that's not ethical. And in this case, it's not ethical to lie, despite I see why you do it, and that's what I'm pointing out. But it also makes him a worse lover overall, and he never gets used to getting any feedback. So yeah, he may be an asshole after he gets feedback, but you're also allowed to point that out. Like you're allowed to say, I didn't come and maybe next time you could use your hand more. And if he's like, what do you mean? Like, well, I've read that book, come as you are. And it was talking all about me going down on you. And you know what? Like, a lot of women would want that. A lot of women want a guy to go down on them. Well, first of all, that means he has not listened to my Oral Sex on Women podcast, which explicitly delineates that many women do not. But also, that's when you say, hey, when you respond in a defensive way, it means I'm less likely to be honest. I don't want us to have a relationship where we lie. I'd like to be able to tell you that I need something in bed and you to respond in a way that is collaborative and team-oriented, instead of being a douchebag about it. And he, may continue to be an asshole for that night, but the next day he may be nice about it. Or he may at least incrementally have become more willing to accept feedback, and you didn't lie. And at least he's not going to think that him going down on you is the be-all, end-all of your life anymore, which is probably fairly irritating in and of itself if you are in that sort of situation. So, also, if you fake, then he comes quicker and everything goes according to plan, right? But he also gets more and more lazy because he thinks that, like, forget about the extra stuff. Some of these guys think that then just penetration is leading to orgasm. He becomes super lazy. Your entire encounter ends up being 5 minutes in which somehow he's convinced himself that you can come, and you've colluded in this deception. Again, you're not a terrible person. I see why you do it, but now he thinks that you are one of those porn women that can get off in like less than 5 minutes from intercourse. How's that helping anybody? He's getting even worse in bed. So he's worse at accepting feedback because he's not practicing, and he's worse in bed because he thinks some superstitious shit about how, his penis is like giving you an orgasm through magic, through like 5 minutes of penetrative sex. It's like not going to happen with no foreplay. So you're also allowing him to be an idiot. And when we love people, we don't want them to be idiots. We want them to be their best self. So to summarize here, men lie about things to make women feel good. Women lie about things to make men feel good. Lies tend to be well-intentioned when they are within a loving marriage frequently, but they always have ramifications. And in this specific case, the ramification is that over time, the man gets both worse at accepting feedback and he gets worse in bed. And the woman is much less likely to enjoy herself, so therefore she's less likely to want sex, which overall then leaves the man very surprised because he thought that, she was coming all over the place. And so why the hell wouldn't she want sex? Well, because she wasn't, And so if you are in the situation that you have been, faking every, half your encounters or, a third or whatever, why not just stop? Stop and try to get him to do more of the things that you like. And if he is sulky, remember I said what to say is, I really don't want us to be in a relationship where I have to walk on eggshells around you. This is, difficult for me to say. I don't want to be awkward, but I also want to enjoy myself more. And this is how we could do it. It sounds like a difficult conversation, but, it's really over in how long did that take? Like 10 seconds, you say that and then you've said it. And then you guys can potentially work on things. And if you can't, of course, you could reach out to couples counselors. I have an intimacy coach, Heather, me, but there's people who could help. But in addition, you got to give somebody a chance to even know that what you're doing is not, that what they're doing is not working. All right, so I hope this clears up that women are not diabolical, lying bitches, and they are well-intentioned, as are the men who say, oh, yes, honey, that was the best dinner I've ever had. Everybody's trying to be a good partner in this situation. So, it is what it is. You got to understand that lying is not a gender-based characteristic. There are good and bad reasons, but net, it is not good long-term for the relationship. And I hope that was very useful for you guys, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.